Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys another Melodious playtesting video. Now this time, we're gonna go ahead and explore my pure Melodious build. But before we begin, I just want to give a huge shout out to my friend Ragnell for sending me this female Robin Fire Emblem Cipher card. It's absolutely beautiful. There are a few other cards in the package as well, and I just absolutely love them. So, huge shout out to my friend Ragnell. Link to his channel will be pinned in the comment section down below, so please go check him out. He does videos on Fire Emblem Heroes and Fate Grand Order, so if you like those games, if you like watching summoning videos, definitely check that out. Anyway, without any further ado, let's just jump right into this. This Fire Emblem Cipher card is actually just here as a centerpiece for the playmat. So the left and the right zones here are going to be where the extra monster zones are. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw 5 cards, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's see what we end up with, and let's get started. So just a heads up that this deck is not a very combo-oriented deck, so we might just draw some potentially dead hands, but this is all just to test consistency. Okay, so we ended up drawing a Pot of Desires, 2 Solemn Strikes, Canon the Melodious Diva, and Max C. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the Pot of Desires, because we can't really do much with these other 4 cards, although 2 Strikes and a Max C are definitely very powerful when going first. So we're going to go activate this, and oh my god, we're going to banish 10 cards. So we're going to banish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we're going to draw 2 cards. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and check what we banished first. Okay, so Chopina and Elegy are gone. Alright. We lost a copy of Canon, Soprano. Okay, so this doesn't look too bad, actually. 2 copies of Ties of Brethren doesn't really matter as well. We did lose 2 copies of Soprano, so that kind of sucks, but, you know, having at least 1 is fine. So we also lost Chopina and Elegy, but that's fine. I didn't really want to draw into them with Desires anyway. So I'm going to put the banished cards, I guess I'll put them over here. Just so they're kind of in frame, but still out of the way, right? Alright, so we're going to draw 2 cards, and we ended up getting an Aria and an Honest. Okay, so we can potentially make a play with this. We can have an access to a rank 4 with 2 hand traps and 2 trap cards. So that's not bad. Okay, so let's put that in the graveyard over there, and let's go ahead and check our extra deck. I'll just lay these out so you guys know what we have in our hand. So let's see what rank 4 plays we can actually go into. We have Fairy Cheergirl. Heartland Draco's not going to help us much. We can actually go into Baguska, that's not too bad, or Tornado Dragon. So I might actually just go ahead and go for Fairy Cheergirl, because we have Honest to protect her, and we can just go for additional draw power with her, to see if we can get anything to set up for future plays. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to normal summon the Aria, and then with my Aria on the field, I can special summon my Cannon out as well. And so now with my Aria and my Cannon, I'm going to actually overlay them. I'll just put them here, so it's easier to reach. And let's go ahead and summon out the Fairy Cheergirl. So I also have Max C, so I could potentially go for even more draws. And we know that we got rid of a lot of dead cards like Chopina and Elegy that were banished off of Desires. So we actually have a good chance of drawing into some pretty good things. Okay, so let's go ahead and activate the Fairy Cheergirl. I'm actually going to go ahead and detach the Aria, just in case we draw into something like the back to the fronts, because I know we didn't banish any of our trap cards, so let's see if we can draw into one of that. Oops, that's the banish pile. So we're going to go ahead and just shuffle the deck, and then we're going to go ahead and draw a card. Alright, so let's see what we end up getting. Alright, well, that's pretty good, actually. We got a Scapegoat. That means next turn we can actually go for a lot of Link plays, because this will give us 4 tokens, and with those 4 tokens, we can actually very easily, you know, use 2 of the tokens in Fairy Cheergirl to go into our Gaia Saber, which has a down arrow, and using the remaining 2 arrows, we can go into Proxy Dragon and then go from there. Depending on what we draw next turn off of Fairy Cheergirl and for our turn, we can even go for, this is supposed to be Borreload Dragon, but yeah, Borreload is definitely an option as well. So this is actually not that bad. So let's go ahead and just set all of these, and that will basically end our turn. We have an Honest and a Max C in hand, so we can potentially get even more draws, and we are being protected by 2 Solemn Strikes and an Honest in case my opponent decides to attack into the Fairy Cheergirl. This was actually a very solid opening hand, and I wasn't really expecting that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up, and we are going to go ahead and test our second opening hand. Alright, so welcome back everybody. Got everything cleaned up and shuffled the deck. So let's go ahead and hop right into our second hand and not waste any time. So 5 cards right here, and let's see what we open up with. Alright, so we have Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, First Movement Solo, Pot of Desires again, Solemn Strike, and Tam Tam the Melodious Diva. Okay, so drawing to Tam Tam kinda sucks, but we do have like First Movement Solo and Pot of Desires, so that is absolutely amazing. Because we have like multiple copies of every Melodious monster, I'm not actually afraid of banishing them, so I'm gonna go ahead and use my Pot of Desires just to see what I need to summon out with my First Movement Solo. So let's go ahead and activate Desires, and oh my god, we're gonna banish 10 more cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and these are all banished face down. So we're going to draw 2 cards from that, and as always, let's check our banish pile and see what got removed. So Ghost Ogre, that's fine. Tai, Soprano, Aria, First Movement Solo, Sonata, another Aria, oh boy. Oh good, we banished the other Desires, that's good. 1 Honest and 1 copy of Scapegoat, so that's fine. We have 1 Aria in circulation, that is all we need. The chances of banishing 3 copies of the same card if you play 3 copies in your deck is actually very, very low. So always feel free to use your Desires before going into like First Movement Solo and things like that. Okay, so let's see what we drew for turn. Oh my gosh. Alright, we drew into a Soprano and a Cannon. That is absolutely amazing. Alright, so this is a really good hand then. So now what we can do is go ahead and activate our First Movement Solo to grab the Aria out from our deck. So let's see where she is hiding. So Aria is going to provide some very nice targeting and battle protection to our monsters, so that's why it's going to be very nice. So when you summon out the Aria, I like to summon her out in the far left or the far right monster zones, so I'm going to put her in the far left monster zone right here. The reason being, if you put her under the extra monster zones, what can happen is if your opponent plays like something like Akashic Magician, they can easily bounce your Aria back to your hand, and it's a non-targeting effect, so you can't stop it. But yeah, and anyway, if you have like Scapegoat or something like that, you want to make Gaia Saber. Gaia Saber has down arrows, so you don't really want to clog up your zone under the extra monster zone. But anyway, looking at this hand right now, we can just normal summon our Soprano right here, and then we can special summon our Cannon straight from our hand, and then we can go for a fusion play. So using Soprano's effect, we can fuse with both of these cards and go ahead and summon Shiberta from our deck. Now, because we use First Movement Solo, you can't actually go for things like Fairy Cheer Girl and stuff. You have to summon Melodious monsters during that turn. So we're going to go ahead and summon the Shiberta. I guess I'll place her right here on the same side that Aria's at. I apologize for the glare, but yeah, tried changing my setup before, but it didn't really work. Okay, so we have Ghost Ogre in our hand to protect us from to potentially disrupt our opponent, and we have the Solemn Strike that we're going to set right here that can potentially protect us from monster effects or huge pushes from your opponent. Now, unfortunately, again, we drew into the Tam Tam, but there will be uses for her when you can normal summon her next turn and potentially go into a few other plays. But yeah, that does it for this second opening hand. We did pretty well. You also have Shiberta that can banish a few cards from your opponent's graveyard, so overall, not that bad at all. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into our third opening hand. Alright guys, welcome back. So I managed to clean up the field and shuffle the deck, so let's go ahead and draw 5 more cards and see what we open up with. Okay, so hopefully it's going to be just as good as last time, and let's see if we can get a hand without Desires, right? So we have Sonata the Melodious Diva, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, Honest, oh boy, we have Soprano the Melodious Songstress and Ties of the Brethren, so that's going to be a very nice change of plays that you guys get to see. Okay, so obviously we're going to go ahead and use the Soprano and Ties of the Brethren combo. You could use Honest as your target for Ties of the Brethren just by normal summoning it, using Ties, and then returning Honest back to your hand. But I think it's always better to not give your opponent knowledge about what's in your hand, especially for something as potent as Honest that can potentially steal games or get rid of your opponent's boss monster if they unwillingly attack into your Melodious monsters or something like that. So Let's go ahead and just normal summon our soprano. I like to just normal summon her to the center of my field, and let's activate Ties the Brethren, targeting the soprano that we control. This allows us to summon 2 level 4 Melodious monsters straight from our deck, because they're all the same type and attribute. Now, of course, you're going to summon an aria, because aria is what makes Ties the Brethren so good in this deck, by making sure that your Melodious monsters can survive your opponent's turn. The second best card to summon is always going to be Tam Tam, because she gets you additional advantage by allowing you to search for things like polymerization. So Ties the Brethren goes to the graveyard, and we're going to go summon these out. I'm going to summon the aria to the far left side of my field yet again, and I'll summon Tam Tam to the far right side of my field. Now, when Tam Tam is summoned alongside other Melodious monsters, you can activate her effect and search a polymerization from your deck. So that's going to be very nice. And as you can see, we went from 5 cards in our starting hand to a +2 in terms of advantage. We have Aria and Tam Tam on our side of the field now. So that's always very nice. Now, we can't special summon for the rest of this turn, so you can't go ahead and fuse like Soprano, Tam Tam, and go for Shiberta or anything. You can activate the polymerization and potentially use like Sonata in your hand and things like that. But we can always save this for next turn and potentially go for a pretty big play. So that's going to be very nice. We also have Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit to potentially hit anything our opponent has, field spells, monsters, and things like that. And you also have the Honest. And Honest is actually going to be pretty good, because if your opponent makes a really big beat stick that's very powerful, tries to swing over something like your Soprano, you always have that Honest to just potentially get rid of that threat immediately, and that's always going to be very nice. So this was actually a pretty good hand. It's a very basic setup, but it's a very effective setup nonetheless. Alright, so we still have time, so I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and we're going to go ahead and jump into our 4th hand. Alright, welcome back everybody. So I managed to get everything cleaned up, and I shuffled the deck again. So let's hop right into our 4th opening hand by drawing 5 more cards. Okay, so let's see what we end up getting. So Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, Ties the Brethren yet again, so that's kind of nice. Solemn Strike, first movement solo, that's kind of good. Oh god, and we got Elegy, the Melodious Diva. I absolutely hate Elegy, and this is the reason why, because if you draw into her, she's dead, and you can't ever use her or summon her, so that is great. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to actually play this out, and I'll show you the neat thing about playing Tam Tam in this deck. So you can actually get rid of cards like Elegy in your hand more efficiently. So let's go ahead and activate the first movement solo, summoning a Melodious monster straight from our deck. So because we have the Ties the Brethren in our hand, it's actually really good to just go for a Soprano, which happened to be at the bottom of the deck, so that's kind of convenient for us. So normally you'd summon something like Aria straight from your deck, but summoning Soprano is actually really nice in this case, because we do have the Ties the Brethren, which we're going to activate, paying 2,000 life points and targeting our Soprano. So we can go ahead and special summon out the Aria from our deck, and we can go for our Tam Tam. Tam Tam is very, very nice, because we do play, we passed over her, but we do play Chopina in this deck, so playing Chopina and Elegy means that you have the potential to brick, but because we have Aria and Tam Tam, we can actually make some good use out of it. So Ties the Brethren goes to the graveyard, and let's summon these out. So I like to put, again, Aria in the far left, and then Tam Tam in the far right. So when Tam Tam is special summoned, we can go ahead and search for a copy of Polymerization. So that's going to be nice. Now, the reason why Tam Tam helps unbrick these types of hands is now, you can't special summon for the rest of this turn because of Ties the Brethren, but during the next turn, you can actually activate Polymerization and fuse your Elegy with something like your Tam Tam to go for Shiberta. You can use Shiberta and her effect, potentially run over some monsters, and then what you can do is actually use Soprano, fuse with the Shiberta. You can make Bloom Diva, Bloom Prima, whatever you would like. So that's actually a pretty nice second follow-up turn, I guess you could say. So this is our first turn, then the next time it comes back to us, we have a pretty strong turn as well. Now, we also have Ghost Ogre in our hand for disruption against our opponent, and we have a Solemn Strike that we can just set anywhere to our side of the field and potentially disrupt our opponent there as well, or stop, you know, a potential Borreload or something that can break your Aria lock. So that's kind of nice. Pretty good opening hand, and of course, with Elegy in the graveyard, after you fusion summon with her, if you ever draw something like back to the front, you can always revive her and put her back to your side of the field. But like I mentioned in my deck profile, Elegy isn't very too important in the deck. She's just another target to summon out with Transmodify if you Transmodify one of your level 4 Light Fairy type monsters. So yeah, that's really all she's there for. But the protection is kind of nice sometimes. Maybe if your opponent's playing something like Dark Hole, Raigeki, and things like that. But yeah, anyway, that was our 4th opening hand, and I think that's all the time we have for today. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe for more Melodious content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.